Hello and welcome to my YouTube channel. If you're regular here, you know by now I review many photographic, audio and video related products. And if you're new here, well, that's exactly what I do. And today we're looking at a lens I purchased for my Olympus OM-D EM5 Mark III. You know, I've done this so many times, but I laughed so many times at that naming, OM-D EM5 Mark III. But anyway, here we go. This is the lens and this is the camera. I've also got fitted to it my Olympus grip. I will put somewhere up here a link to the review I done of the Olympus OM-D EM5 Mark III. I love the camera. I use it a great deal. It's my travel camera. Not that we're doing a lot of traveling, but you know, going out and about camera. And this new lens is my going out and about favorite lens. And there it is. It's a really compact lens. There's no weight to this lens whatsoever. And this is a huge beauty of Micro Four Thirds. That is a lens even with its lens hood. No, you know, very compact size, no weight to that. It's actually a really cheap lens. Well, it's cost effective. I got this second hand here in the UK. I think I paid about 350 quid for it, something like that. So it's not a pro lens, but it gives lovely results. Maybe as a professional photographer, if you're doing portraits and that kind of malarkey, you definitely wouldn't buy this lens. I doubt it anyway. But that's not to say you can't get really good quality results with this lens. It isn't weather sealed, but it has got a metal, the actual mount is metal construction on the back here. It's not plastic or, you know, whatever. It is a metal construction mount. And, you know, it's really well made. So let's just put that back on there. Micro Four Thirds, as I said earlier, so it's great for Panasonic bodies and Olympus bodies. This is the 14 to 150 f4-5.6 Mark II version. So the aperture is variable aperture, ranges from f4 to 5.6 as you zoom through the telephoto range, and it's the Mark II version. You've got a really wide zoom in ring here, which is fantastic. It does trombone, but you would expect that because it's not an expensive lens. And I guess that's, you know, where the weather sealing issues would come in, because obviously, because it's exposed in the barrel, that would take any grit and dirt back into the lens. But I don't think you're going to have any real issues with it. You know, okay, so don't take it out in thunderstorms, but you know, sort of light drizzle ain't going to cause any issues. And it's got a really nice manual focus ring. Now, I'm not into manual focusing, so with the Olympus cameras, particularly this model, because it's got phase detect autofocus points as well as contrast detect autofocus points, very much like the EM1 Mark II and the Mark III. This is really very reminiscent of those two cameras. And the autofocus is brilliant, point to point, as well as continuous autofocus is very usable now in the EM5 Mark III. And it's great with this lens. It focuses really quick. I've got no issues with it at all. So that's basically the lens. I said it does trombone out. Now 15 to 150 is basically 14 to 150 is basically a 28 to 300 in a full frame lens. And look how compact that is. To have a walk around body and lens and to have a 28 to 300 fitted to it, I think is awesome. I genuinely think that is absolutely awesome. And the image quality from this sensor is great. You know, honestly, I'm going to show you a few samples here taken with this lens, so you'll be able to get an idea, an indication as to how good this lens is. And I say it's not an expensive lens. The lens hood is cheap plastic thing, nothing special, but you know, hey ho, it's a hood. Helps protect any flare getting into the camera body. There's no autofocus, manual focus switches on it. There's no other switches. I don't think it's got lens stabilization in it. I don't think it's an optically stabilized lens. It certainly doesn't say it on it, so I suspect it isn't optically stabilized, but it doesn't need to be, because the EM5 Mark III has got amazing 5-axis image stabilization anyway, and so does the EM1 and the OM10. You know, they've all got in-body image stabilization, so it doesn't need to be in the lens. So you know, I wouldn't worry too much about that. And you would have to pay more to get an optically stabilized lens, and it's going to be heavier, bigger and heavier. So that's the lens. I will put its weight in the description so you can actually see how heavy it is. But now let's take a quick look at some of the samples that I've taken. Now, I haven't taken that many samples simply because we've not been able to get out a great deal, so there's not a great deal of samples here. So let's take a look at a few samples. Let's start with this one. Now, this one was taken in my conservatory. I'm not sure what the aperture was set. It's ISO 400, set at 22mm, and the clarity, sharpness there is really nice. The colours, the contrast, it is a really nice lens. You just scan through some of these samples and you see, once the computer sharpens it up, oh, look at that, really, really good. That's again ISO 400. That is ISO 400. I keep mentioning the ISO because there was always a big concern about noise levels with micro four thirds. But 400 is fine. It's you don't get any issues with that at all. Again, that's ISO 400 at 30mm. Really, really nice sharpness. Very, very pleased with this. And I'm going to be using this lens constantly because it fits in my camera bag with the camera body so beautifully. Very, very chuffed to bits with the whole, the whole micro four the entire micro four thirds format. I mean, look at the clarity of that. That is actually really sharp. I will put in the description below, I will put a link to my Flickr page where you can take a closer look at these images. It's much better to look at these images on Flickr as opposed to looking at them on my YouTube video, because YouTube's compression is so high that you really don't get to see how good or bad these images are. So there will be a link in the description so you can actually look at these images on my Flickr page. There'll also be an Amazon link in the description. So if you do want to buy this lens or any other stuff that I review, there'll be a link to my Amazon page so you can have a look at what products are on there. You don't pay any more. I earn a few pennies if you order through the Amazon link. But the great thing is Amazon's a really good supplier. They've got a really good no quibbles returns policy. So that's why I recommend Amazon, because I use them. So everything I recommend, I use. I have purchased and I use. It's not given to me. This lens I purchased for camera bodies, all my filming kit, I've purchased it all. So, and that's why I'm happy to recommend it, because I'm using it on a constant basis. But yeah, great image quality comes off this lens. I don't know about the charts and what it is from edge to edge and all that sort of malarkey. I don't really, I just, my real world results, as people call it, are great, Now, because it's variable aperture and it starts at f4, you're not going to get immense bokeh, and also with micro four thirds, the bokeh is reduced anyway, so it's not a bokeh lens. But again, if you're doing portraits and you can zoom in quite a bit, you're still going to get separation between the foreground and the background. So it's still going to be good for doing that, but you just have to work at it a bit more, because it goes right down to 5.6 at the telephoto end. So in really poor light, I wouldn't recommend this lens. But in half decent light and out in the daylight, I can highly recommend this lens. So maybe if you are going out and about and you're going to go indoors, then you might want to take a different lens, maybe a prime lens, to stick on for that, f1.8, f2, f2.8 apertures, because f4 really isn't that wide. But on the other hand, on the flip side to that, because the stabilization within the Olympus cameras are great, you can shoot at a slower shutter speed, particularly if you're doing like landscapes and static subjects, not moving subjects, but architecture and what have you. You can set a slower shutter speed and still know you're going to get a sharp result, which means you can reduce the ISO anyway. So there are always workarounds to this micro four thirds, limitation as far as low light is concerned. There we go. Now, the program that I'm showing you these in is a program called Luminar AI. There's now an AI2 update. And I mention it simply because I use it. I purchased it and I do use it. So it's well worth taking a look at Luminar AI. Again, I will put a link in the description where you can download a trial version, and if you do decide to buy it, use the coupon code AVP and you'll get $10 off your purchase price. It might actually save you money in the long run because it's not very expensive to buy, and it might replace Lightroom if you are a Lightroom and Photoshop user, because it can catalogue your images just like Lightroom. Not as flexible, but it does do it. But the beauty with this software, as I regularly say, because I really do like it, is its editing capabilities, and you can do everything from actually, let's go out of that, let's go back to me catalogue and go to some images I have actually edited. Where did I put them? That's where I put them. So let's have a look here. Let's say, for example, this one. Now that's again taken on the EM5 III actually, but with the Panasonic 12-35 lens. 12-35? Yeah, something like that. And if we look at what came out of the camera, do that. That's what came out of the camera. Got a lamppost in the corner there, so I've got rid of a lamppost, and I've replaced the sky with a much more interesting sky, and that took a matter of not even minutes. And if we go into edit, you know, I'll show you how quickly it is. You load up the sky module, look for skies, and you can buy even more of them. There's hundreds of them. So let's say you wanted something, you know, dramatic for whatever reason. You click on that, and within a matter of seconds that sky will change to that, so you've got more of a sort of nighttime view. That's not really a scene that would suit that particular sky, I don't think, but you get the gist of what you can do with you know, with it, and it is really good. I love playing with it because it is just so good. You know, and you can also add components to the sky. So let's say, for example, that one there. Let's again show you what came out of camera. Again, see, that's how flat that image is. That's what came out of camera, and that's what I replaced it with. And I've put a sky in. I've put some birds in as well. You know, and I can go on forever and a day what I've done with. There's another one. I put a plane in that one. Completely pointless. Why you would want to do that, I don't know, but I did. That one, a new sky. That one's got, and that one works really well. I quite like that one. That's got a new sky. That's what came out of camera. What a flat image. And we replaced it with a new sky. So, you know, lovely, lovely bit of software. And it's not expensive. So, again, it's worth downloading, at least download the trial version, have a little play with it. But if you do decide you want to buy it, use the code AVP to get $10 off. So there we go. So that's a quick look at the Olympus 15-150 lens. And as I say, it's a nice lens to keep on your camera body all the time because it's compact enough to be able to do that. So there we go. Hope you found that useful. Please subscribe to my channel if you haven't already done so. And please hit the like button if you like the content of this video. It really does help me grow the channel. And please remember to take a look at the images on Flickr and download the trial versions of Luminar 4 and Luminar AI. So there we go. Thanks very much for watching, and stay tuned for more videos relating to video and photography. And don't forget to subscribe and hit the like button. So there we go. Thanks very much. Cheers for now. Bye.